Okay, so tonight we plan on keeping y'all. We know it's kind of looks like everyone present here is on the East Coast. It's getting kind of later and certainly into the supper hour. Uh, Brief introduction of us tonight, who we are, the course areas that we travel to, the four pillars that scaffold our program, our admissions process, and open it up to Q&A because we actually have one of our co-hosts tonight is just back from Southern Africa. So we'll defer to her on a lot of these questions. If any questions come up while we're talking through the slides, we're a small enough group, please feel free to jump in and ask the question, or you can pop it in the chat, or you can wait till the end and we can talk about popcorn style, whatever is coming up. Okay, great. So first, I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Hayne Beatty-Gray, and I'm the admissions manager. I work remotely from the team in Bozeman. I'm in Asheville in Western North Carolina. I'm thrilled to be a part of the traveling school, and I really believe in travel and place-based education, and that's what drew me to the traveling school. I'm also the mother of 3 teenagers, so I am, yes, very much in support of semester programs. I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer next.
Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer Royal and I'm the executive director of the traveling school. I've been involved with the traveling school since 20 years ago. I was a teacher on the first Southern Africa semester and the second South America semester. So I got to see both of those places, and I was a teacher in Bozeman, Montana for a long time as well. And then eventually I started working for the admin team, and I've been on the board and yeah, for quite 10 years now. So they can't seem to get rid of me because I agree with Hayne. I think the traveling school is like the coolest thing on earth. I've taught in a lot of different places, and there's nothing quite like a traveling school semester for the student or the teacher, or to live vicariously here on my computer and show up every once in a while, and even just meeting with alum after the fact. It's just pretty powerful. It gives me the chills on pretty much any given day when I'm talking about the traveling school. And then Cora, if you would introduce yourself. Speaking of alumni who are amazing.
Hey, hi guys. I'm Cora Bradley and I'm from Vermont, and I'm a senior in high school, and I just got back 2 months ago from the TTS 39 Africa semester. I just always love talking about it, and I was so glad that I was asked to do this because it's like I just love talking about my semester. But yeah, it was definitely a life-changing experience, and yeah, you can always ask me questions, and like, yeah, anyway, that's me.
We know that the most powerful spokesperson for the traveling school is our students. So we're pumped to have you here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cora.
Let's see if I can make this move.
Awesome. So in case you didn't know, the traveling school is an inclusive all-girls program. We work with students aged 15 to 18, and typically that's a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader. We have 2 semester locations, both in the Southern Hemisphere, one in Southern Africa and one in South America. And we really pride ourselves on being a technology-free experience. Those are much more rare to come by these days, and we feel it's a gift that we allow that we provide that on our programming. So we'll talk a bit more about where we travel. In every fall, we go to Southern Africa, and the countries that we visit are Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. And then in the spring, we travel to South America, and the countries we visit there, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. And we've been traveling to these regions for 20 years now and have really deep community bonds and connections there that inform our scheduling each semester.
Yay. So our traveling school mission is that the traveling school amplifies student voices through transformative education to ignite positive change. And the reason I love to talk to our alum and hear their stories is because I hear that whenever I see them, wherever I go. Our students certainly come, the students who come to us come with a goal, I think, to see education, a different sort of education. They're looking for more than maybe they're getting at home. So they're coming with a mindset of, yeah, I want more. But I think the traveling school helps those students while they're all together in a group of like-minded humans to kind of like push themselves out of their comfort zones a little bit and not be afraid to speak and ask questions and get curious, and really all that together is the heart of what we are. We come home, students come home changed in so many ways. They are able to see themselves. I don't know. I should be quiet and ask Cora to speak to this, but I think they shift a lot in their view of what they can do and who they are and what they want to do next.
I also want to add, I feel like this is like amplify student voices, and I feel like traveling school actually really does that. Like every class, they ask like every student to talk, and we like talk to each other, and like also like the teacher, and not just like the teacher like teaching us stuff and us like being like drones or something. But yeah, I feel like every class you're like asked to speak, and whatever you have to say, it's like valued, even if it wasn't right or something. So yeah.
Awesome. And we achieve our mission through a really honed vision of looking ahead together, where we have and empower strong, compassionate student leaders, build an equitable and sustainable global community. And we feel that we deliver that in our semester programs each year, and our alumni over 406, actually 467 to be exact right now, are testaments to that, and really amazing things that they're doing around the world in the field of sustainability, climate justice, social justice, and environmental stewardship. So
True. So we're going to give you a little bit of a picture of the two different semesters, just to give you some fodder for your questions later. But as Haynes said, we have two semesters, and one's in Southern Africa and one's in South America. Since Cora just got back from Southern Africa, I figure she might want to share what big picture, what does that look like, Cora?
Okay, so I feel like the main thing about Southern Africa is we travel on a bus called Big Blue, and it's this big overland bus, and we have a driver called Soko, and he's just really funny and nice. But we just there's like tents that are like stay like in compartments in Big Blue, and we put our bags in Big Blue. That's what the name of the bus is. And so yeah, we camp almost the whole time, but we're in hostels a couple times. But yeah, Big Blue, we drive a lot. Sometimes there's a day where we only drive, which those were some of my favorite days because we just like listen to music and dance around and like just look out the window and like see so much. Because like a 7 hour drive driving through like different countries in Southern Africa is like it's crazy. Like you see so much, and it's just so different from like driving in like Vermont. But yeah, so um we also have a cook that travels with us, Samakange, and he's made some pretty good meals. But some of my favorite is sudza, which is um a meal. It's like throughout all, but it's called different things in different places. But I don't really know how to describe it, but it's a really good meal from Zimbabwe, which is where the cook is from. But yeah, we go to different countries and there's just like so many different experiences in the different countries. Like we stayed in cities and like really rural, and they're both like amazing. I'm not much of a city person, but I loved the cities we went to. Like Windhoek was one of my favorite places we stayed. Um anyway, yeah. And it's also really warm, which is nice, but it's hard to come back because it's pretty cold where I am right now. But yeah, kind of I feel like that's the gist. Big blue tents. It's warm and you just meet a lot of new people. Like we go to this place called African Leadership Academy where there's students from all over Africa, and I still am like in contact with some of the kids from that school, and one of them is from Egypt, another from Morocco. And so yeah, there's just like you make so many connections with people that you would probably like never meet if you didn't do that. So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but thanks.
You're good. You're good. So, I would add that in Southern Africa, while there's lots of different tribal languages and official languages throughout the course area, we are able to largely converse in English. And so that's, there's lots of obviously wildlife, and the classes in both semesters are based around the countries we travel through. So I'm going to go to South America. And in South America, like there's, if you're a Spanish if you're in Spanish classes in high school now and you want to up your game, we're definitely interacting all around us in Spanish. We teach 3 levels of Spanish classes. We spend a little bit more time in towns and we stay in hostels. We also backpack at higher elevations. You can see this group is going mountaineering, this picture here at the very end in Bolivia. We use private and public transport to get from place to place. And yeah, it's just a little, I would say that this semester, both semesters are active and there's a physical element to them. And we're going to talk about the different aspects of the traveling school. This semester has a little bit more elevation and backpacking, whereas Southern Africa, you're not really backpacking through places where there might be lions or elephants that you'd encounter. So there's different outdoor activities that go with these 2 places. It's a little cooler in South America typically, but the weather, it's hard to know exactly how that's going to go.
So these are our 4 connecting threads that run through both of our semester locations. Our 4 pillars, the scaffolding of programming, if you will. No semester is the same. No day is the same, really, right, Cora? While our routes vary slightly each year, we use the same framework. And as mentioned before, stay in touch with our overseas contacts to create a dynamic itinerary and grounded in contemporary and current issues. We come in prepared. As I said, we've got contacts on the ground, and we have advanced reservations, planned activities. We're aware of the local setting, and yet we also recognize that the nature and beauty of travel is that you can't anticipate everything that you'll encounter along the way. So we adjust as needed, and we grant our teachers some flexibility to do the same. If there's an amazing opportunity to connect with a local expert, if we stay one more day, then we do. If local politics or safety factors change, we change our plans. We can be nimble because of our size and because of our connections to our countries.
Yeah, and because of our risk management protocols. So we train our teachers and our students to be aware of where they are and pay attention and interact all the time with the people around them, and it really makes a difference. We're definitely not afraid to shift, and we've skipped whole countries before if that feels necessary. And it's, things change and we have to be nimble, and I do appreciate your emphasis on that, because it's so, so true. This is I'm just gonna say, because here's the picture. This is an example of us being nimble. These students carrying their bags right here, and you can see these rocks because there was lots of times in Bolivia, some of the rural people don't like something that's going on, like say the cost of transportation goes up way too much. And so they might block the road and say, we're not going to ride on public transport until you do something about that. So our students were coming back from an activity and they needed to get to their hostel. And so they just got off of their bus at the blocks, at the rocks, and they took together, you know, it was a peaceful activity. They were just like, well, hey, we're not doing this anymore. And we just walked ourselves to our hostel, and that was our flexibility in that particular thing. And that's the way it goes. You know, look at all the things these students are carrying. Crazy. But you do get stronger physically too. Okay. So are you going to share a few? I think while I speak, Hayne is going to share a few links in case you want to look at any of this. But so our first pillar, we are a school and we do go some neat places and have all kinds of experiences that are just not academic, but we're a school. And so we teach, we have the curriculum guide is being linked in your chat right now, but everyone takes classes, like Cora said, there's discussion, project-based, there are homework assignments, there are study halls. It's not just a fun trip. It's not a field trip. Students get credit, and we work with home high schools to ensure that's going to happen. And we're here to learn about the areas where we're traveling, from the people and place around us, and that's what makes it so magical, that experiential piece. So it's primary sources all around us, and we are learning about global issues that in the region, and the cultures, and the history based from the people who live there. So that's really amazing. We keep track of our course hours for our accreditation and for the home high schools. And you can see the core courses, there's 6 here. The ones that are starred, like Spanish, honors Spanish, that's only in the South America semester. Math options vary depending upon the spring or the fall. So we take statistics, don't we, Cora, in Southern Africa, and financial algebra in South America. And we create our own curriculum based around this place and all these years of going there. And it's really amazing to see that every semester it grows and changes, because the places we go are changing all the time. So it is very relevant.
I want to add something. So there was one, I just have like a story that like kind of shows like a moment at TTS where like I learned something and it wasn't just from a book. But so we're in this place called Luderitz, and we had like a full class day, and we met, one of our teachers met this guy Asser at a cafe, and then that afternoon we went on a walk with him around the town, and he showed us like all around the town, and he told us the whole history of the town and like his personal experience with the town and like apartheid, because he and his family went through apartheid, and he just told us his personal experiences, and like it was so different than like what I could have like read or like read in a book at school or something, and it kind of like impacted me more, and I like feel like I'll remember that for a long time, because it was like his personal experiences, he like went through it. So that was just like a moment where we just like met this guy, and then he like gave us a whole class for like 2 hours. So yeah.
And that reminds me of what Hayne was saying, where we have to take advantage of the place and the people and the situation. And that's what we're all on the lookout for. is we have lots of friends and partners in these places, but there's always other people that are so interesting, and it's continues to grow. Okay. Am I doing two? So community engagement. So just like Cora was saying, I mean, we're teaching students how to engage in a place. And I think the way I explained it is how to be a gentle traveler, how to travel in the world without being, oh, I don't know, obnoxious and I don't know, just engage and curious about the people around you in the place. So, the whole point of this is a wider perspective, a wider global understanding. So we're meeting people and learning about their perspectives. We are hoping that by doing that, we're changing slash enriching, developing our students' engagement and understanding of the world around them, and realizing that it's way more complex than any one article or news piece that you hear or read in the news, especially what's reported in the US about other places in the world. Yeah, it's inspiring to these students to meet these people, to go play soccer with these Andean women in Chinchero and Peru and learn about their families and learn about their culture and learn about their lives. So we're trying, again, like we said, it's not a field trip. We're not tourists. We're trying to actively engage in the place and learn from the people. Yeah, I think there's so much about this idea of a kind of a monolithic perspective of a region like South America. And it's much, much more complex than that. And so realizing there isn't one story about Peru or Ecuador or Bolivia, but it's each one of these people. There isn't, history isn't his story, but it's their story. It's the whole country. It's the people we meet. They all have a piece of that. And I don't think we learned that regularly in high school. That way of realizing that the people around us can teach us if we just engage. So this community engagement could involve projects. It could involve going to a community and just asking questions or learning about the history there. I'm trying to think, Cora, can you think of other, like Asser, are there any examples of things where you engaged in a community in a way that you remember?
We went to this place called the DRC, which was like a community center where like kids go after school if they like need a place to go. And that was like that changed like the whole semester. It was just such an amazing experience. Just like we like played soccer with the kids that went there to school, and we like did some other like art projects, and it was just really like life-changing. Just talk to kids from like just a different area, and just also the the head of the community center told us about her mission and her daughter, like Katrina's the owner, and she told us she started how she started the DRC, and it was like really just inspiring because she's gone through a lot and she's just a really tough woman. So yeah, I feel like that was a really fun day and also interesting, and I learned a lot that day. So
Yeah, so that community is a township outside of the town of Swakopmund, which is a much more kind of Germanic, kind of European, Namibian seacoast town. And yet the people from that area that were not, that have been there since before colonization live outside in this poor part of town. And Katrina is one of the few people, one of the few Black store owners in that town. And that's how we met her, and she introduced herself, and we had coffee, and then she brought us into this community center. So again, these opportunities to hear from local experts, to working with community organizations, even going to the market, learning how to go to the market and not just make it transactional, but to talk to the people that you are encountering and to learn about where they're from and what they're selling and how it was made. That is all part of what we're doing when we're in the traveling school semester. Okay, talking too much.
No, I love that though, because I feel like there's a shared attribute to not just I mean, it runs through the admin and the teachers and the students, is just this deep curiosity and all junkies, if you will. We really lean into new experiences and new perspectives. So outdoor pursuits at the traveling school can look a lot of different ways depending on where you are, but we engage physically in the places that we visit, and we meet people where they are. And there's some people that are coming that are run marathons and cross country. There's some people coming that is, they're not involved in after school sports. And so we meet people where they are, and we guide them through how to rock climb or how to raft, or we have professional guides on the ground there as well, who are running safety and helping train and teach our students. We go backpacking through Peru. We raft down the rivers of Zambia. We go sand sledding in Namibia. All the while practicing backcountry skills like leave no trace and minimal impact where we travel. These outdoor pursuits, and some days it's just yoga in the garden if we're closer to a township, but they build strong leadership and communication skills through pushing through that learning edge, which you meet almost every day, your own personal learning edge at the traveling school. And that's kind of where the magic happens, as that edge pushes further and further out during the program. Our teachers teach students to resolve conflicts, gain independence through stressors that come out in some of these uncomfortable outdoor excursions, and you can watch the confidence grow in each student throughout the semester. And I would love to, we're gonna let Cora talk about a day in the life, and then maybe in question and answer, she can talk about what her favorite
Outdoor, yeah. Just to say, it doesn't take much to meet you where you are to do this one activity, which is climbing sand dunes and rolling down them. Pretty much anyone can do that, really no problem. And it's fun. You do get sand in your ears, but otherwise it's really fun. Okay, fourth pillar is this. It weaves all the way through all the others. It's this idea of transformational leadership. It's embedded in the whole program. You're learning and building skills as a leader. You're learning how to step up and step back. You can't always be the only voice that speaks. You're learning this in the classroom. You're learning this as a member of a community. We have circles. I saw Cora lead a circle in Southern Africa when she was one of the first leaders of the day, or student leaders of the day. They call them slods, but it's way more magical than slod. Sounds kind of funny to me. But yeah, we build leadership skills, or our students do, when they interact and push themselves in this new culture, in these new places, and as well as all those activities that we were talking about in the last slide. So yeah, you're building those skills the whole way through. Oh, tell us how there's a typical day. What's your typical day, Cora?
Okay, so I feel like there's no like real typical day at TTS, like you guys said. Like we just do different things every day. But this is like pretty right. Usually it's like half class day, half like adventure or some like town time. But yeah, usually we wake up, it depends on the student, but I usually wake up like 6:30, and then we'd have breakfast at like 7, and then we'd like do our cruise, and we'd like clean up, and then we'd have a couple classes, and then lunch, and then we'd do like town time. So we'd go to town and have like buy food. I bought a lot of snacks at town time, and or we do an adventure. Like one day we did some classes, and then we went rock climbing, and another day we went abseiling, which was so fun. And so yeah, usually it's like a mix of classes and activities, or some days it's just like a full class day and you just do classes. Like, yeah, but there's still so much fun to those days too, because just like in between classes everyone talks to each other, and it's like, oh my god, that was hard, or like, this is such a cool assignment, or stuff like that. So yeah, there's always adventure to every day at TTS.
Yeah, and so there could be multiple days in a row where you're doing an activity that isn't based around classes, or you might bring some of your class, or we make our own books. You could take pages out of your book and put them in your backpack, or so there could be an activity. The thing about the traveling school is, we're with each other for 7 days in a row, 105 days in a row. So it can, sometimes you're kind of like, well, what day is it? And the way the students know what day it is because typically we have study halls Sunday night through Thursday night, and Friday and Saturday night we don't have study halls. But you could have a class on Saturday or Sunday if that makes sense, because you're doing an activity the next 3 days. So there's a lot of flexibility there. Just saying. All right, I'm going to keep going.
Who are the traveling school students? We've spoken a lot, I think, to that tonight. They're geographically diverse. Approximately 40 to 60% are on some type of need-based scholarship. They're academically motivated, as we said, curious and willing to try new things. Also inclusive and ready to be part of building a community from scratch. And I would say across the board, they are hungry for something different.
I just can't get over when I visited chorus semester, how much, when I asked them to go around and tell me, so far, what's the biggest thing? And they're like, it's the community, it's the people here. We are so supportive of each other, and I haven't been in that kind of place. So community building and learning how to be in community is such a big part of the traveling school. This semester coming up this spring, chorus semester, there were a lot of students from New England. This semester, there are 12 different students and from 11 different states, so across the US. And you just never know, but typically our students are sprinkled from all over. So anyway, I clicked the wrong place.
So if you follow our social media accounts, you saw this post a couple of weeks ago. But Cora, can I ask you to read this quote and tell us what this is from?
Yeah, so this is from, at the end of the semester, we wrote like a closing kind of statement to like yourself and your family and a TTS, just like about your experience and like your biggest takeaway. And my biggest takeaway was definitely the community. So here's, yeah. I found a space in which I can truly be myself. Every single day this semester, this small group of girls has made me feel included, appreciated, and loved. And I'm now a different person because of their support. I've been able to fully be myself this semester and not fake who I was to try and get people to like me. These girls like me for me as my own person, filled with joy to share with others. So yeah, this kind of makes me misty every time, but just like the girls that you're with, like you spend so much time with them and you make these norms, and just like my group is just so supportive, and we just like laughed every day, and they like were never like, oh, that was weird or like judgy or anything. So it was really refreshing, and it's kind of weird to be back in regular school where not everyone's like that, but it was just it just made me a different person just because of being with those girls. So yeah.
I love
And
that.
yeah, go ahead. Hey.
I was going to just dovetail into what Cora and Jennifer both just said, is that community building starts from the day we all meet up in the departure city, and your teachers are deeply trained and well versed in how to help scaffold that community building. And there's nowhere to hide. So we have all different types of personalities, but the quiet, shy individual still is given a space and provided the trust with which they can open up in the group. So there's teachers as mentors as well, are just on top of all of the nuance of a community. And because we're 16 students and 4 teachers, there really is nowhere to hide. So everything gets worked out. Okay, so the nuts and bolts of it. Our admissions process, we have our priority deadline coming up for February 15th. And so we encourage and invite you to apply. Part of that process is starting the conversation with your school. There's an academic credit transfer form that can be found on our website. There's links to the 2 recommendations that need to be submitted with your application. One of those needs to be from a teacher within the past 6 months, but the other could be a mentor, a coach, an employer, or someone that's known you and how you move through the world for a while. We also need to see a transcript from your school. That can be linked in your application. And if you're applying for financial aid, we use the FAX platform, and which is I'm familiar with that on a personal level. It is no small endeavor to fill that out. So we encourage you to do that as soon as possible, because sometimes you might think you're complete and then you'll get an email from FAX saying, wait, there's more. We need a deeper look. So we encourage you to get on top of that as soon as possible. We also have, I think Jennifer's going to pop up. We've got a link to affording a semester. So we have lots of creative ways to making this work. We don't want the simple price tag to be a deterrent to an applicant, and we can work with families in all different kind of ways and students. In a few minutes, when we wrap this up, I'll pop up, for those of you that don't have my phone number or my email, and we're going to pop those up, and you can reach out at any time with questions. We also have, where that affording a semester webinar has been recorded, there's lots of other webinars. So you could go deep into years of webinars if you're really curious about how we've evolved and stayed true to who we are. There's probably some gold in those archives. Yeah, so I think with that, would love to open it up to question and answer. And as I said, we're an intimate enough group that just shout it out popcorn style and mute yourself, and we'll make sure the right person answers them for you. So what have you got for us? Don't be shy. Or if you're shy, you can text the question. That's okay too. Put it in the chat.
Yes. Hey, and I have a question. She said, are there vaccination requirements for traveling to these countries? I mean, special vaccinations for things that maybe are there that we wouldn't necessarily have regularly here.
Yeah, there are. Depends on the semester, and that's part of the enrollment packet that you get. So we ask you to go to a travel doctor because that's their profession, but we also know from experience and from, the people that we work with, like the State Department websites, and from other travel advisories and our security and medical service that we provide. They share those things, but like right now, students going to South America needed typhoid on top of like your typical ones, and yellow
Right.
fever, which is actually less and less needed in the places where we travel. We still are in South America in the malarial zone for part of it. So there's malarial medicine, malaria meds. And it just, that one's just top of mind in my head right now because we're getting all that in and all that information. But yes, we help, make that's part of the enrollment process.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have one more question. So are the, just for planning purposes, are the applications read on a rolling basis or after the deadline? Like, is there a allotted amount of time generally that it's reviewed?
That is a great question as well. So right now, the ones who have completed their applications are getting my undivided attention, but normally they will then be spread out into our whole, we have a group that reads all the applications and meets. And so all the ones that we've received so far will be put into that pool as well. And they all get undivided attention. It's just right now our program team is very deeply entrenched in getting our 40th semester launched. And so they haven't had the bandwidth as of late to peek at the applications yet, but we're starting to do it this week. So bit by bit, we'll chip away at it. And then so February 15th, we will read all those applications and meet and make our application or admissions decisions, and then admissions notifications will be sent out on March 15th. And so for that month, we're going to be focused on the applications that we have. And then after that, after March 15th, then they would be rolling admissions as available.
And we ask that those early, when we give admissions decisions on March 15th, we ask that students give us their decision by April 5th, so that we all can know what it's starting to look like, in terms of other admissions decisions. And we try to stick with the semester schools to be on the same timeline, because students sometimes are applying to more than one semester school.
I had a question on the gear for the Southern Africa semester. What kind of gear, such as backpack, luggage, will Julia need?
Well, Cora, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so for the Southern Africa semester, since we have Big Blue, we travel with duffel bags, and they're like pretty big, but yeah, just like, and like a little day bag for when we go on day trips. But yeah, we travel with a duffel bag.
Yep. So on South America, we have backpacks. We have large backpacks, expedition backpacks. And again, we have a packing list that's quite detailed that goes out with the enrollment pieces. But yeah, we generally, we give lots of good detail, and we try to leave some wiggle room too, so that and what I remember from Cora's semester is people shared their things with each other. There are certain sweatshirts that got worn by every student while I was there. I almost asked if I could borrow it because it was a good sweatshirt for sure. It's like having 15 other closets.
And at the end of the semester, we all traded a bunch of clothes. So now I have a bunch of new clothes, which is nice.
And speaking of sharing, we have a gear shed, so to speak, where if you don't know that you're going to be really into mountaineering, or if one of our pieces of equipment seems a little niche for you and you want to see if your student likes it before you invest the money, we have a gear shed that we can loan out equipment through. So, and that's backpacks. I mean, that's kind of pretty much all of the technical gear. We've got a trove of them in Bozeman that we would bring to the departure city. So yeah.
I have another question. We don't want to dominate your chat at all. But it is a little, well, I'm just gonna, if Julia goes, talking to her every 2 weeks is just not something that we've ever done since the day she was born. And so we've always been in touch in some form or fashion. Is there anything set up for parents, maybe in between phone calls, where there's maybe I don't know, some sort of platform or communication for parents to just sort of check in with each other or with y'all, or what
That's
sort
a
of
good-
support is there for all of us mothers at home that are wondering where our babies are?
That's a great question. Can I take this one?
Please.
There's you are so spot on. This is harder for the people at home. It's not to say that it won't be hard for the students at different places and challenging, but because we're used to instant communication, right? So yes, we have our phone calls every 10 days to 2 weeks. We also have mentor comments that go out 4 times during the semester, where the mentor is talking specifically about your daughter. We have a blog that's private, and you can see it now on our website. And I'm sorry, I couldn't, we can make sure we put some of these links, and we can also email you some of these links, but you can find our blog, and after the semester it becomes public, but right during the semester it's private, and it talks to you about activities and academics, and it's from the students and it's from the parents. I mean, not parents, but from the teachers, or from the admin team. We also have people who just call and check in. You could call me or Anj or Mary Reed, and you could say, hey, tell me a story, because we are interacting with the teachers every week. We check in with the program coordinator and the logistical coordinator, and then the other 2 teachers every other week. So we have check-ins as well. So we have stories, we have pictures, you'll get emails from us. We'll send you won't be left alone. And if you have questions, you just ask. And if there's a need to have a conversation, or your student is sick and we want to connect you outside of that time, or you have something you need to, then we try to make that happen as much as we can based on the connectivity of where they are. But there's all sorts of ways that we communicate. And I'll tell you what, I know you talk to your daughter quite a lot during the year or during the day, whatever, with text, but 20 minutes of just that student's time. I've heard so much from parents. It's like, oh my gosh, these are the most incredible conversations I've had with my child, because it's just focused. It's like you are their focus. And I don't know, Cora, do you have anything you might say to that?
I think it was harder for my mom for when I couldn't call every 2 weeks, because like it was definitely hard sometimes, but I feel like it also makes you appreciate like your parents more, kind of, and when you get home you just like talk so much, but it can be hard, but at the end of the semester it kind of like went by so fast that you're like, it wasn't too bad, because now I'm talking to them every day again, and it's like yeah. So I don't know. It's hard. I don't know how to explain it, because I wasn't like my mom going through not talking to my daughter, but as like from a student's perspective, it definitely gets easier, and it's kind of nice sometimes, because like the girls are like your family now. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is, this idea at the beginning, especially, is if you're connected completely like normal at home, then it's hard to engage in the place. It's easier to go to your parents when you're struggling. It's easy to text your mom or your dad and say, I had a hard day. And what we're trying to do is not keep that from happening, but especially the beginning, help the students. It helps with homesickness to not be able to be attached to home at the drop of a hat. If that makes sense.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so I think that's where it comes from too. There's a little break before and they get engaged in the place, right? And I mean, it's hard to do anymore. Like, it's hard to make sure that every device that we have anymore can be hooked up to the internet. So it's hard for us to make sure that we are tech light. But it's such a powerful part of the semester. And there are definitely, I mean, I hope that helps a little bit, but yes.
It
there are lots
does. I'm not at all worried about her. I'm worried about me.
You just call me. You call me.
Yes,
Well,
okay.
I'll tell you some
We
stories.
have to make a adjustment. Julia's got another meeting that she's got to take her computer to, so I'm gonna hop on our computer.
Okay. All right.
Um, any other questions from folks?
I had a question.
Yeah, Maya. Go ahead.
With like carrying for the South America trip, are students carrying all of their school equipment, like notebooks, textbooks, if that's in, and like papers on themselves in their own packs, like with them? Yeah.
Jennifer, I'm gonna
Yes.
let you answer this one.
The answer is yes, but only on travel days. So like if you go for an expedition, Maya, you would leave back things, right? And we'd divvy up tents and we would, each take a little bit of food and you would take what you needed for that expedition, that exped, that's the cool way, exped, that that I hear them talking about it now. And so you would leave things back, you wouldn't carry everything. But when you're traveling, you don't have Big Blue in South America, so you are a turtle. You have a bunch of stuff on your back, and then you saw those students with stuff on their fronts, and their books are in one of them, and you're just trying to distribute the weight as best you can. And you're not walking miles in that, but you're going from your room to the transportation, and then from from when you get to your location to the next lodging or whatever. So it's not, and then we have you saw those students like carrying those big duffels. That might be a library. So we have to take turns helping carrying things. You don't have to carry all that all the time. But like I said, you get strong for sure. When you first show up to the gateway city, we could probably get this blow on you and you might tip over. But by the end, you totally have it. And it was the same in Africa with those duffels, because they sling them, they sling them on their back like a backpack, and they have a front pack too. And it's the same thing on travel days. It's a little bit extra to carry.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I always like to say this because my spouse is a professional musician. We are tech free, but every student gets an MP3 player before they leave for semester to fill up with music. And so music does a lot of things for people. And we really want to make sure that students can take that. And I think Cora can attest to that. You fill up with your own playlist, and then you get to share it with everyone else's playlist when you're over in semester and learn. Oh, nice. Yeah, there's the MP3 player. Like, we have to search far and wide to find ones that are not connected to the internet, but we find them. I think we might be their only customers.
They still exist. And that's true.
We want to be mindful of your time, but certainly have space for any questions. So and if if you don't want to ask them here, you can also reach out, as I mentioned before, to us individually.
I had a quick question. Hi, sorry I joined late. My name's Nikki. My daughter's Alea. She wished she could have been here, but she's got soccer practice right now. She was lucky enough to go to a dual immersion school, K through 6th. And so she is a sophomore and she's in Spanish 4 AP right now. And so when she talked to her counselor, she said that she could definitely get credit, like elective credit for the Spanish. But I was wondering how many like mini homestays there might be so she can really practice her Spanish at that higher level. Or if you differentiate at all, like with the teachers. I'm assuming the teachers are bilingual.
So we have 3 levels of Spanish, and all of our students, on my niece, one of my nieces, 2, 3, 5, 4 or 5 of my nieces went, but a lot of them that did South America, and one was that same level, had been to
Okay.
William and Mary in high school, going there for Spanish because she'd kind of already outgrown all the Spanish in her high school, right? So done AP, done. And what I will say is there's plenty of opportunity to use your Spanish in the South America semester. And within the, so it's not necessarily homestays. We do group stays and we are involved in communities. But throughout the whole semester, students grow in a very big way in their ability to speak. And so our upper level students can be translating for the whole group as soon as they're ready. So the teachers don't always have to do it. So there's a lot of room for growth there and a lot of opportunity to speak. We definitely do what we call group stays. We don't do home stays.
Okay.
And we do community stays throughout the semester. And every activity you do is in Spanish. And so there's a translation piece, right? And there's an understanding piece and there's a communication piece. And so I tell you, I can't even get over how much a first year, totally introductory, someone who took French, if they have the chutzpah to engage, they're going to grow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then my second question was, I was an exchange student in high school to Spain, and I know that it was harder coming home. I had pretty bad culture shock coming back. So I was wondering how the group is supported when they come back. I'm assuming they stay in touch. But I was just curious if anybody's here that has been, how that was coming back and if how they were supported.
Yeah, I can. So the last week of like the program, we did this thing called transference, which like,
oh great,
I don't know what I would have done without it, but it's basically just like we all talk like every day and they give us like prompts and stuff to give us tips and like things to say when people ask us stuff. And because like not like it's hard to like talk to people when you first come back to go like, oh, how was it? And you're like, I don't know what to say, like it was good. So they give us like ways to like deal with it. And also, I text everyone from my semester every day and we're like, oh my god, this person said this, what are they doing, like blah blah. So we're just like, there's a lot of things that help for coming back.
Great, and thank you for sharing.
And Nikki,
so there's a whole program within the semester. They also, when they all got back, they Zoomed together. We have someone who works in our office whose crew that she was with, I don't know, so many years ago, because she's graduated and works for us now. They still, they had a text thread, a daily text thread for so many years. So they have each other, they have their teachers, and they also have skills. And hey, what do you want to bring home? There's a lot of conversation at the end about what are you bringing back? What do you want to keep in your life that you've developed here? What are you going to let go of? The students do a presentation in their home high school so they can actually process what they did in a bigger way than like, how was it kind of thing so we try to give students the opportunity to go back and talk about it in a structured way, and they plan that. And depending upon them, there's all kinds of different ways to do that. But yeah, it is important
Mhm.
to be thoughtful there, and it isn't easy. And we know that.
And
Yeah.
I want to jump in and also say that we also host a webinar for parents of students before they come home and really give them tips, tools, and tricks to best support their student who is going to be dealing with all the things that you dealt with when you
Yeah.
were and how to create space for processing it. And
Mhm.
so I think the traveling school is really intentional about both sides, receiving and homecoming.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
We try to, it's the same as what we were saying before about it being hard for the parents. It's like, okay, we don't expect that you know what you're gonna get, you don't,
Mhm.
that's gonna look
Well, it's
like.
such a transformative, powerful experience when you live abroad when you're 16, 17. And so,
Absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, well, we just want to thank all of y'all so much for choosing to spend some time with us on a Monday evening, at the start of your week as we wrap up January.